my name's Brad. I am part of the Alchemy team, but I'm also an AIDA instructor, a freediving competitor, and I've been doing it for about 9 years now. And today I wanted to talk you through a little bit with some tips for how to develop basic strength for freediving. So whether you're just starting out and trying to hit those first 30-40 meters, or whether you're finding a bit of fatigue creeping in when you're diving deeper, maybe your legs are starting to hurt a little bit, this is for you. This is how you can kind of begin to overcome that before you even get in the water, so that you're ready to complete deeper dives and progress with your freediving. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of the plan I've used successfully before, I want to start by saying that the best plan for any kind of strength training or any type of training at all is actually the one you can stick to. So if you absolutely hate the training, you're not going to stick to it long term and you're not going to get the results for it. So ideally you need to find what works for you, so that you can stick to it. You actually enjoy doing the training and you'll show up and do the training every time. And the program I'm going to talk about is one that I've used that's worked like this. It's really easy for me. It starts off quite easy while you build technique, and then it gets harder and harder as you progress, as the weight gets heavier, but it's still also reasonably short. Like even at its peak, when it's getting quite hard and you're lifting quite a lot of weight, it should only take no more than an hour, and at the start you might be done in 30 minutes, right? So it's good. The other part is we're focusing on compound movements, so we want to keep this plan simple, and the idea is to just build basic overall strength. Because if we build that overall strength, what we have is we have strong muscles, and strong muscles won't fatigue as fast. So it's really basic principles. We're only using a few exercises, they're compound movements, and this is really going to target the entire body. And if done right, and if not starting too hard, we'll actually be able to do this without really getting too sore or anything like that, but you'll notice the increases in your strength, which comes from progressive overload, which we're going to be doing. So we'll jump on into it and talk about that now. In principle, what we're doing is every workout we're doing 5 sets of 5 reps, and we're progressively increasing the weight every session as long as we successfully completed our previous sets. They are all barbell workouts, and they are best done in a squat cage, because if you don't have someone to spot you, we still want to be safe, so we need to have things like those guide rails in place, those safety stops in place, so that if we fail a set, and for this to be really effective, we've got to not be afraid to fail sets. We've got to be able to push ourselves. So doing it safely, making sure we're using that cage, have those safety rails set so that we don't end up trapped under the bar at any time if we fail a set. So the Strongless 5x5 is based on a 5x5 principle, and we have 2 workouts a week, and we work out 3 times a week. And we'll go into what those workouts are now. Okay, so as I mentioned, the 5x5 workout has 2 different workouts. We do them 3 times a week, and we alternate each time. And now the first thing is, as I mentioned, compound exercises are going to be key here. So we start off with squats. Squats form the basis of the entire program, and we do those both sessions. So we start off with our squats, 5x5. And what we want to do for this is start with a really light weight. Ideally, we want to be starting at just the bar, because these light weights, while they are likely to be easy for some, maybe not all, but for most, they'll probably be quite easy just with a 20 kilo bar. This is a great opportunity to build our technique, get our technique right, because if we don't have correct technique, we're going to put ourselves at risk of injury. And if we have injuries, then we run into setbacks on our training plan. So we want to make sure that good form is also a factor in this. So really focusing on that good form, squatting nice and low, but keeping our knees from caving in, keeping them straight, feet planted, and really engaging our core so that we're not arching our back or anything like that. When I say we need good technique, we don't need 100% perfect technique, but we should be maintaining at least 80% of perfect technique every time, because we do want to avoid those injuries. Next up on workout A, we are going to introduce bench press. So another movement we can do in a squat cage as well. If we don't have a spotter, we can set those rails, put a bench in there and do a bench press. Once again, I recommend starting light with this to develop the technique, starting as light as possible, and then we progress from there. Okay, and the last exercise of workout A is going to be barbell rows. Right. So with these, barbell on the ground, weight on, and pulling up and really pushing those shoulder blades together, right? We're trying to work the back and the front with these two exercises. So the bench is working our pecs, the barbell roll is working our back, and creating a nice balanced overall strength. For workout B, we're going to obviously have our squats as our foundation, but then our next workout is going to be shoulder press. And once again, we're doing that with a barbell. So we want to be holding the barbell at our chest height and pushing up and down. We don't want to be cheating by bouncing our knees or using our legs, because every time we bounce it, we're taking weight off the shoulders and making it harder to do. And this is going to be the hardest exercise. Typically, it's the one people fail on first because of the small muscle groups involved, your shoulders, and that pressing motion. So don't be afraid of this one. It's also one of the few we can do outside of a cage, because with the bar up above us, we can fail a bit more easily. We're more likely to get stuck in this position, and we can drop the bar in front of us. It's not going to pin us down. Lastly, we have deadlifts. And you'll notice a difference here. We're doing 1 by 5. So after a lot of squatting, deadlifts can get quite intense. At the start, it won't be this way, so you could maybe add 2 or 3 sets of 5 at the beginning while it's nice and easy, while you work on your form so you get more reps in. But ultimately, once we get up, we might end up squatting, if we progress a lot, we could end up squatting 80 kilos and deadlifting something like 100 kilos, and that's going to be pretty tiring. So when we get to that point, we drop the deadlift back to 1 by 5, just because 1 set of 5 is more than enough to get an impact from it. So it's there. So those are our 2 workouts. Workout A, we have our squats 5 by 5, workout followed by our bench 5 by 5, and our barbell row 5 by 5. Workout B, squats again, followed by shoulder press, once again with the barbell, and our deadlifts in a 1 by 5 rate. Looked at the exercises we're going to be doing on each workout and how they split between the 2. So now what we want to look at is progression and scheduling our workouts, as well as rest between sets. So for starters, we want to be doing this 3 times per week, and we want to be having at least 1 rest day in between each session. So doing something like Monday, Wednesday, Friday is a great way to do it, because then you get 2 rest days over the weekend before you start again. So it's a nice reset, but you've always got a day in between each workout to recover. When looking at the rest time between sets, we want to give ourselves at least 1.5 minutes of rest at the beginning, but as the sets get harder and harder and we progress further, it is going to become harder. You're going to get more tired, and that rest needs to increase. So the idea is we want to increase that rest as needed up to about 3 minutes. So 3 minutes of rest between each set once the weight starts getting heavier. But while they're lighter, by all means, take 1.5 minutes and get through the workout a bit quicker while we work on building that technique. As for progression, we're not changing the exercises and we're not changing the structure. How we progress with this is we increase the weight. So the idea is every time we successfully complete an exercise, not a workout, just an exercise, and get our 5 sets of 5, or in the case of deadlift, our 1 set of 5 in at the right weight with that good technique, then we increase the weight by 2.5 kilos for the next workout that we do that one. So for example, for squats, if we successfully complete our sets of 5 by 5 each workout of the week, we're going to increase our weight by 7.5 kilos that week. And so it quickly ramps up, Obviously this isn't sustainable forever and you will eventually fail sets, but for the beginning, you'll be able to keep progressively increasing that weight. And we do the same with our bench press and the same with our rows, our shoulder press and our deadlift. It's all the same weight. We add 2.5 kilos every time we get our 5 sets of 5. If we fail a set, we repeat. So if we, one day for example, only get 3 sets of 5 and 2 sets of 4 with our squats because it's too heavy, the next session we repeat our 5x5 with the squat. If we should get it that session, but if not, we repeat it again. And if we fail it 3 times in a row, we go back, we drop the weight down by about 10%, and then we build back up, and that time we should get it. It's important to note though, if you are failing a set, you only hold the weight back on that exercise. If you're hitting your bench press and you're hitting your rows, but you're not hitting your squats, it's only squats we stay at the same weight. The bench press and the rows, we continue to increase until we start hitting that trouble where we can't actually progress any further and we do need to repeat sets to get there. Okay, so that's the basis of the workout and how we progress, how we go through, what exercises we're going to be doing. Finally, just a few tips for success. So the first one I found that really helped me is I plan my workouts for the same days every week. So I try to do a Monday, a Wednesday and a Friday and have my weekends off or to do other things, diving. Another way to look at it is if you are diving a lot, especially during the week, then you might want to schedule your workouts for after dive sessions so that you're not getting tired. Even though if we start with a light enough weight and follow the progression set out, we shouldn't have any muscle soreness, which takes us nicely into our second tip for success, which is we start really light. It may look weird in the gym, you may feel weird doing it, it may feel too easy, but most of these exercises we can start with the bar. If you've done them before, if you're a bit more experienced and a bit stronger, by all means, up the weight a little bit, but we want this to be easy to start with, and that's for 2 reasons. The first reason is so that we get used to the techniques. So we want to make sure, as I've touched on before, we're using good technique, because injuries mean we have to miss workouts and they just hold back our progress. So good technique is key for all of these, because if we maintain that technique, we are going to progress faster. Even if it means it's harder and we may have to repeat some, at least we're not getting injured and losing weeks of training while recovering from an injury. The other one is if we start light and increase our weight by that 2.5 kilos each time, what happens is our body adapts as we go and we don't have that muscle soreness that could prevent us from doing our next workout. Because if you've had it before, that DOMS, that delayed onset muscle soreness, that can last for a few days, and it usually peaks around day 2, which is when you'd be going back for your next workout. So if we can avoid that, it means we're less likely to skip that workout and we're more likely to stay on track with our progression. As I've also touched on, another tip, if we fail to get our 5 sets of 5 or our 1 set of 5 deadlifts at a certain weight 3 times, we want to do a deload. So we want to take off 10% of the weight we've got on and build back up again. And what this is going to do is it's going to help you break through those plateaus, because there's no point banging our head against the same weight and failing every time. So we do the deload and we get through. But the other thing is, if you do fail on, say, the 3rd set of 5, you only get 3, we still attempt to do our next 2 sets, and we give ourselves a little bit of extra rest. So instead of that 3 minutes rest, we might give ourselves 5 minutes to just get our muscles nice and recovered, and we try again, because we're always trying to get our 5 sets of 5. If we fail to get a set, it's okay, but we still do our 5 sets. You can't go on increasing weight forever. You will eventually hit plateaus that you can't bust through. So this is a basic strength building program. It's not targeting specific movements for freediving, and when you become a more advanced freediver or more experienced with strength training, you may change and do exercises that are more targeted to your particular discipline. But for beginners, people just getting into strength training, this is perfect to build overall body strength, and I can wholeheartedly say that this made my dives easier. The fatigue in my legs was gone from doing this, because as I've mentioned before, a strong muscle doesn't fatigue as quickly, so it's really key, and it's a great way to get started adding strength training into your free dive training.